Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and may I again give my congratulations to the Honourable Member for Birkenhead. It frightens me that he's on the other side of the House, and often I agree with his sentiments, not just about immigration, but about welfare and education and many other issues. Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm not here today just to talk about the immigration chaos that happened over the last 15 years or so. Because as you've seen this afternoon, colleagues on both sides discussed the human and economic issues. Clearly, this is not just about process and numbers. We seem to face a much deeper problem than just the number of people coming into the United Kingdom. It's also about how we support, resource and recognise those in charge of protecting our borders. And I believe that in many ways the immigration service has become the forgotten service. And that is going to be the focus of my remarks today. During his leadership campaign, the Shadow Home Secretary accepted that Labour's arguments on immigration had not been good enough. And immigration officers have been telling us this for some time. In May 2009, Mr. Mike Whiting wrote a letter to the Times. He said that the Labour draft reforms have devastated the visa officer network that successfully operated for many years. Then in April 2010, just days after publicly hardening their stance on immigration, it was revealed that the last government were also seeking to cut the number of immigration officers. And that's despite a quadrupling of immigration on their watch. As an email that was leaked at the time stated, a voluntary early release scheme will be launched in selected parts of the UK border agency. There is an opportunity to make targeted reductions across the border force. That email claimed that the policy would not impact on frontline services. But clearly immigration officers are, quite literally, the front line, because they physically guard the borders of the British Isles. Madam Deputy Speaker, when you look at this evidence, a picture slowly emerges. Under the last government, the immigration service was at best neglected by ministers, but at worst, it was treated with contempt. It was only 2 years ago that a Labour Home Office Minister, who was previously in the Chamber earlier this afternoon, the Honourable Member for Slough, described immigration officers in somewhat unparliamentary language. This was reported by BBC Online on the 29th of November 2008. I quote from the BBC website: UK immigration officials have been on the receiving end of a 4-letter outburst by former Home Office Minister, the Honourable Member for Slough. The MP told a conference of a Labour think tank that the job could corrupt even quite good and moral people. She said, one of the reasons immigration officers are XXX is because some people speak when they decide not to like that. That is wrong. And it seems astonishing that senior Labour figures would trash immigration officers when it was their government who caused the immigration chaos in the first place. But if this were a standalone comment, that would be bad enough. But the Honourable Member for Slough was backed up by the Labour MEP Claude Moraes, who rounded off immigration officers complaining about their professional standards. But they are paid a very modest income compared with other parts of the public sector. Their entry level salary in London is less than £15,000 a year. During the last 30 years they have suffered not just a loss in working conditions, but also in prestige. And the symbol of this, I believe, is that they were not awarded the Golden Jubilee Medal, unlike almost every other comparable area of the public sector. And that is why I call them the forgotten service. As the House will know, eligibility for the Queen's Golden Jubilee Medal was initially restricted to the armed forces and the Royal Police Auxiliary. It was then extended to include the police, fire and ambulance services, those including the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, the Mountain Rescue Service. The Honourable Member for Dulwich, Culture Secretary at the time, explained that she'd taken this decision because September the 11th highlighted the vital role of the emergency services and the risks they face. The Golden Jubilee Medal now recognises those who face potential threat of injury, or worse, each time they are called out in response to 999 calls. In 2009, 2003, the Golden Jubilee Medal was extended to living holders of the Victoria Cross and the George Cross. In 2005, an election year, Labour took the additional decision to award the Golden Jubilee Medal to public sector prison officers. Baroness Scotland stated, "The prison service is a key public service whose greatest achievements often go unseen by the general public. In times of emergency, they rise to the challenge with great skill and professionalism, and these medals recognise that. The House will note that such medals have been given out every coronation ceremony since Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee in 1887. These medals have a rich civilian history. For example, recipients of King George V's Silver Jubilee Medal in 1935 included the judiciary, clergy and religious sisterhoods, teachers, physicians, and according to an ancient copy of Hansard, mail couriers and lighthouse tenders too. In 1977, the Queen's Silver Jubilee Medal was awarded to many other civilian groups, including the police, firemen and firewomen, social workers, health visitors, and the civil service. The key criteria for getting the Golden Jubilee Medal seems to be that you risked your life for it, especially in the face of potential terrorist attacks. Madam Deputy Speaker, immigration officers do not just protect our borders, they are also on the front line against terrorism. Whenever there has been a crisis, such as the hijacker that stands there, it is immigration officers who want to deal with the resulting emergency. In the attack on Glasgow International Airport in 2007, they were first on the scene. In 2001, for instance, two immigration officers serving aboard in Nigeria were attacked by gunfire on their return to work one day. Sadly, this has become an all too frequent occurrence. These are just a few examples of the daily risks and sacrifices that we ask of our immigration officers. To quote Baroness Scotland, when she gave the Golden Jubilee Medal to the prison service, when she announced why they've been awarded it, she said, "They are a key public service whose greatest achievements often go unseen by the general public. In times of emergencies, they rise to the challenge with great skill and professionalism. Surely this is true of our immigration service too. That is why I've written to the Secretary of State, Culture, Media and Sport, asking him to consider awarding them the Diamond Jubilee Medal in 2012. I've also asked him to consider retrospectively awarding immigration officers the Golden Jubilee Medal. The first ever early day motion that I tabled, number 114, was on this subject. It was also the first subject, or it was the subject of the first question that I ever asked in Parliament as a new MP. In conclusion, it is bad enough that Labour cut. Of course.
I apologise for interrupting the Honourable Gentleman. I appreciate his conclusion. In context with his comments earlier on regarding the Honourable Member for Slough, could I just confirm for the benefit of the House and the way in which things are done in this place that he did have the courtesy to inform the Honourable Lady, the Member for Slough, that he was going to name her on the floor of the Chamber this afternoon?
I didn't inform the Honourable Lady because I didn't know that I was supposed to do this, but I will write a letter of apology to her, so I apologise for that. In conclusion, it is bad enough that Labour cut the number of immigration officers, and it's bad enough that at the same time they opened the floodgates and allowed the number of migrants to quadruple. It's bad enough that the last government did not always speak of the service with decency and respect. It's bad enough that every day the immigration service has to face the rising threat of terror from extremist bombers and separatists. But what is unacceptable is that immigration officers have not been given the recognition they so richly deserve and have not been awarded the Golden Jubilee Medal. The work that they do, keeping our borders secure against great odds and on low pay, deserves a public honour. And since I have begun this campaign in Parliament, over 50 immigration officers have written to me independently, expressing their support. I am proud to say that many of them live in and around my constituency of Harlow, as they work in Stansted Airport. Madam Deputy Speaker, let me end by quoting one of these letters, written to me by one official. He says, and I quote, "I have served as an immigration officer for over 25 important role in the fight against terrorism, smuggling, people trafficking, crime and illegal entry. During my own service, I recall officers being called upon to assist with emergencies such as the Elder Free Enterprise disaster, the return of hostages from Kuwait, hostage emergencies at Afghanistan, deployments to Kosovo, the Czech Republic and Iraq. Whilst prison officers won their battle to receive the Golden Jubilee Medal, nobody considered immigration officers. Not surprisingly, we feel we are the forgotten service, called upon when needed and cast aside when confused. Madam Deputy Speaker, the immigration service has been forgotten for far too long. For the sake of common decency, public sector morale and the recognition of their service, I hope that this government, our government, will right this wrong as soon as possible.
Point of order, Mr.
If you could clarify us, that for us the forms of the House in referring to other honourable members who are not present, my understanding from perusing Erskine Day was that you had to notify them if it were a personal attack, but not if it was cut or thrust of political debate. And I understood what my honourable friend said from Harlow was the cut and thrust of political debate.